Asian Americans are the fastest growing ethnic group in the U.S., and according to the Pew Research Center, nearly half identify as Christians. The roots of Christianity in Asian American communities date back to over a century ago. It starts with the immigrant experience.
I think for first generation, they went to church, yes, because of faith. Part of it was for survival. It was where they could go and rest.
Eugene Cho, a Korean-American pastor in Seattle, Washington, leads a multi-ethnic and multicultural church called Quest. He was 6 years old when his family immigrated to the U.S. and has vivid memories of his parents struggling to survive in an unfamiliar country.
My parents worked at a grocery store 8 a.m. to 11 p.m., forcing themselves to speak a language that they could not speak. So when they went to church on Sundays, I saw them effervescent.
He also saw how the church, founded by Korean immigrants, was more than a spiritual home, but also a place that provided vital social services.
So when you're an immigrant, when you're a refugee, when you are a marginalized outsider in a country where you're a minority, I think it makes our dependence on faith, on Christ, that much more important. We don't take it for granted.
When people immigrate, they often have a hard time finding a place to call home. And churches have provided that churches form culturally. They often preserve the culture in America.
President Dale Irvin of the New York Theological Seminary says that Asian American churches today, like all immigrant churches, are being challenged to balance the needs of new generations of churchgoers who are culturally assimilated and embracing new ideas about identity, community, and fellowship.
So I'm watching that happen inside the church. There's an older generation of leadership, and they have a certain kind of understanding of what the church is like. And there's another generation coming up underneath them that have a very different understanding of what leadership is, a very different understanding of the kinds of patterns that the church should be fulfilling.
There's another significant trend of multiculturalism on the rise.
I still see among Asian Americans a real sensitivity to the global multicultural identity and not an exclusion, not trying to outpace other groups, but really trying to build a new kind of community.
The kind of community that Pastor Eugene Cho says he felt called to create in his church.
As someone living in the United States, what I saw was an incredibly fast-changing culture. And while we needed Korean American and other homogenous churches, I believe God brought me to the United States, yes, to embrace my calling as a Korean American person, but I also felt that part of my calling here was to be a light and salt to the larger culture as well. If church becomes reduced in the modern era where you just come and go.
Pastor Cho is one of the growing numbers of visible Asian Americans in the Christian leadership. He's met with President Obama and been invited by Martin Luther King Jr.'s daughter, Dr. Bernice King, to speak at the Ebenezer Baptist Church on Martin Luther King Day. In recent years, more and more Asian Americans are seen in prominent roles of leadership. InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, one of the largest evangelical organizations on college campuses, elected Tom Lin as the first non-white president in its 75-year history. Lausanne Movement, an evangelical organization founded by world-renowned evangelist Billy Graham, has as its CEO a Korean-American, Michael O. And in 2016, the oldest Baptist missionary organization in North America unanimously elected Sharon Ko to be its executive director. Ko is the first woman to lead the organization in its more than 200-year history.
My favorite part about my faith is that written on it is the truth that God's mission is now from everywhere to everyone. Because this gospel went all the way and came all the way back and will continue to go.
We have been at work on the ground, faithful, serving in churches, serving in organizations for a long, long time. So I'm really grateful and encouraged by that. I'm excited that other people are beginning to recognize this as well. One of my mentors, his name is Dr. John Perkins. He's an African-American activist who was part of the civil rights movement, spent time with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He said, everyone needs to be loved, everyone needs to be heard, and everyone needs to be part of something greater than themselves. So as a church, we want to be able to speak of those things, and certainly because we have many Asian Americans come, to be culturally sensitive to them as well.
According to the Pew Research Center, immigrants are playing a key role in revitalizing churches across America. And it's clear that Asian Americans are helping to change the face of Christianity as leaders and as lay people. I'm Yoon for Asian American Life.